Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we got some breaking news for you guys as the Vikings are signing multiple players, one being good old friend, Cam Akers. He returns for a third straight season. Back-to-back trade deadlines. The Vikings have traded for the running back, and now after the Aaron Jones injury, they will sign him to either the active roster or the practice squad. I haven't gotten exact word on that, but then also a guy joining the active roster, quarterback Desmond Ritter. What does this mean for JJ McCarthy? What does this mean for Max Brosmer? We'll dive all into it on today's show. But before we do so, if you guys could hit that subscribe button. We're closing in here on 60,500 subs. I think we're just less than 100 subscribers away. So if you guys are new here, want to stay up to date around your Minnesota Vikings, crazy times right now, a ton of injuries. Van Ginkel, Darisaw, JJ McCarthy. This damn near whole roster is banged up right now. So we'll keep you guys posted throughout the week. So hit that subscribe button today. So I do want to start off here talking about Desmond Ritter. I did not have this on my bingo card today, him joining the active roster. I thought if the Vikings were going to sign a quarterback, it would just be an addition to the practice squad. And if they were going to add another quarterback to the active roster, I thought it would just be Max Brosmer. I thought he showed enough during the preseason, run the offense at a high level. He's a very, intelligent quarterback. Kevin O'Connell said he's the most intelligent quarterback he's ever been around, and obviously that's high praise from KOC. So I guess they weren't as comfortable or confident in Brosmer stepping in just in case Carson Wentz, got hurt this upcoming weekend. So they went with Desmond Ritter. And I think the funniest part of Ritter joining the Vikings active roster, a little gamesmanship potentially between Kevin O'Connell and Zach Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bengals this past week, they elevated Brett Rypien to their active roster. Well, Brett Rypien the past 2 seasons, he's been on the Vikings practice squad. And where was Desmond Ritter right before the start of the 2025 season? He was with the Bengals practice squad. So I wonder if this is just trying to get intel or if this is actually like a situation where the Vikings, just in case Carson Wentz goes down, maybe they don't feel comfortable going to Max Brosmer, but if Desmond Ritter has to get in the game at all this Sunday, you can call it on that game. He's just not that good of a quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback. I don't even really frankly think he's an NFL backup at this point. So very curious on why the Vikings did make this move. Now, a lot of people are already speculating, what's the corresponding move going to be? Because obviously you add somebody to the roster, somebody's got to get demoted. Well, a lot of people were speculating maybe JJ McCarthy goes to short-term IR. But Tom Pelissero tweeting this out, no injured reserve for JJ McCarthy, who is week to week with a high ankle sprain. But Minnesota is back to 3 healthy quarterbacks, that being Carson Wentz, rookie Max Brosmer, and now Desmond Ritter. So JJ won't be going to short-term IR, which, quick thought on that, that's absolutely massive. Because we have talked, let's just say hypothetically, JJ McCarthy does go the short-term IR. The Vikings, their next 3 games at home against the Bengals, but then they travel across the pond, take on the Steelers in Ireland, then they take on the Browns still across the pond in London, and then you have that bye week, and then you have the Eagles at home during week 7. Would you just rest JJ, put him on short-term IR for a month, and then he makes his return against Philly, and then the next week after that, week 8, short week on the road going against the Chargers? Obviously, Jim Harbaugh knows everything you can know about J.J. McCarthy, and that defense was flying around the football field yesterday against the Raiders, so that's a tough spot to throw him back into. So if J.J. does come back, I'm assuming it would be that Week 5 game against the Cleveland Browns. He travels with the team. Wentz starts the next 2 weeks, and then you're hoping that J.J., the Browns, even though they got Myles Garrett, you would still think that the Vikings could get something going offensively, but the kid just needs reps. And especially if you still plan on him being your guy throughout this entire season, you may need a fine tune-up game, and the Cleveland Browns could offer that instead of just throwing him to the dogs if you would put him out for the next 4 weeks against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then against the Los Angeles Chargers, and then even after that Chargers game, it doesn't get easier. You're in Detroit, and then it's the Ravens at home. So very good news here that JJ is not going on short-term IR, but still questioning this Desmond Ritter move. Now, in terms of the corresponding move, since it's obviously not going to be JJ, I think it might be Aaron Jones. Now, Aaron Jones, obviously an older running back, has had hamstring issues throughout his entire NFL career. I think maybe the Vikings will try to play this safe, put him on short-term IR. Maybe we don't see him until Week 7 against the Eagles. And plus, with how good Jordan Mason has looked in very limited action, I think that might be the right call. Now, you also did pick up Cam Akers. Again, no word if Akers is going to join the active roster. If Akers is signed to the active roster, I can almost guarantee that Aaron Jones will go the short-term IR, and then maybe the other corresponding move, since you would have to open up 2 roster spots, maybe it's Xavier Scott or Ty Chandler. They go to the practice squad, but it's just very interesting stuff right now. It was also so interesting that the Vikings, so JJ's not going on short-term IR, so obviously they don't view this as a month-long injury, but you ruled him out extremely early in the week, and people are starting to speculate, maybe this is the Vikings, maybe obviously his ankle is banged up. We all saw the play he got hurt on, a hip drop tackle when he had a 15-yard rush down the left sideline. But maybe people were speculating if the Vikings just want to give him more time since he is a new father. Like, listen, I've never had a kid before. I don't know what that's like, but I'm assuming you got to spend a lot of time, and it probably takes away from your film study. It takes away from your mental preparation, and that's a lot on the plate for a 22-year-old kid. So maybe Kevin O'Connell and maybe JJ might even be back for the Week 4 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they just wanted to tell him, hey, your ankle's banged up. Get your mind right. Get your body right. Go support your fiance. And there's just a lot on his plate as a 22-year-old kid to deal with. One, being a franchise quarterback, a lot of pressure on him. This team's coming off a 14-win season. You were down to your third-string left tackle, your backup center. The offense wasn't playing well. He wasn't playing well. So maybe the Vikes are just kind of giving him a break here. But then again, I say all that, and then you go sign Desmond Ritter to the active roster. Like, that just doesn't really make sense to me. I'm very confused by that move, but let's talk about Cam Akers here. He's making his return, and if I could have bet, I would have put every single cent on my bank account once Cam Akers got released from the New Orleans Saints before the season, that at some point he would be joining the Vikings roster. And obviously, we know with Aaron Jones' injury history, I should have just bet that of Cam Akers becoming a Minnesota Viking again. And I guarantee you this has to be the first time in NFL history where a team has brought in the same player 3 straight seasons in the middle of the season. Like, you trade for Cam Akers, back-to-back trade deadlines, and now you have an injury to a running back in Aaron Jones, and you bring him back. Now, this was actually getting reported earlier today. Apparently some fans saw Cam Akers getting off a flight in the Minneapolis area, and then it just spread like wildfire on Twitter. Everybody was speculating, is Cam Akers back? Obviously, now he is. This hasn't been reported, though, by any of the big guns like the Adam Schefters, Tom Pelisseros, and it still hasn't been reported. So nothing officially official just yet, but the Minnesota actually TV station did report this news that Cam Akers is signing. So, good to have Cam Akers back. He's always ran well in this Kevin O'Connell system, even dating back to when he was with McVay and KOC with the Rams. So clearly KOC loves this guy. He trusts him, especially in blitz pickup, and I could see him being that third down scat back and also give Jordan Mason some break. But I'll tell you what, even though it's disappointing that Aaron Jones is hurt, I am so excited to watch Jordan Mason run, especially with a backup quarterback. You're playing a backup quarterback. I could see the Vikings just going old school 80s, 90s football here where it's like, hey, we're going to rely on our defense. That's going to be the backbone of this team. That is the identity of the Minnesota Vikings at this point. The offense has been horrible, and the defense has kept them in games. And, even last week, like when the Falcons finally scored a touchdown late in the game, the Vikings just let them in just to have a chance to score a touchdown, get the onside, score a touchdown. Obviously, it didn't end up working out, but the defense has been absolutely fantastic for this team. But I could see the Vikings going a little old school football where it's, hey, we're running with a very physical running back in Jordan Mason. He's leaning on guys. He's falling forward, and I expect him to get 20-plus carries this weekend. If he doesn't, then a lot more questions arise around Kevin O'Connell. And especially if the Vikings can't get any short passing game going. Because I think KOC, and I made this comparison on a show recently, he's like a pitcher in the MLB where he has 2 nasty pitches. Where he's got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, he's got a crazy slider, but he doesn't have a third pitch. That's kind of how Kevin O'Connell feels, where he doesn't have that short passing game, he doesn't have a consistent enough running game, and you're necessarily just banking on your offensive line holding up. Because if you don't have that quick passing game and you're running these long developing routes down the field, your offensive line has to hold up, and that puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback to, 1, push the ball down the field, be accurate on these 10-plus yard throws. So how about we get Wentz going? Get him in rhythm early, get that quick passing game, and then you start really running the rock with Jordan Mason. But the news of the day, Cam Akers is back, and then also Desmond freaking Ritter. I cannot believe the Vikings actually signed him. But, hey, we'll get on out of here. Appreciate everybody for tuning into today's show. We'll have a video going out tomorrow morning talking about actually TJ Hockenson and Ivan Pace. Both of them have really struggled to start this season. So break those two down on a future show tomorrow. But appreciate everybody watching. As always, Skol Vikes.